Welcome to Light Bulbs with Natasha, another episode of me interviewing business owners that inspire me in Los Angeles. I'm here with Rey III, the designer and CEO of The Third Degree, based here in Los Angeles. Rey, how are you?
Hello, Natasha. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, so we're actually in one of the hotels that you designed, which is Kimpton Lapeer Hotel here in West Hollywood. And I gotta say, it's beautiful. I'm so impressed with your design skills and with your team, what they do.
Thank you so much. I think I definitely want to make sure this is clear. We were not the designers of the hotel. Mm-hmm. There's a designer for the hotel, mm-hmm. and we do the furniture. Our mm-hmm. focus is the furniture. Mm-hmm. So in this hotel, we did the furniture, which we design, manufacture, and then, of course, we maintain for them.
Yeah.
So that's what our work is.
You're based here, right, though? You said
based
that
in
you're...
Los Angeles. Yeah, we started here in Los Angeles mm-hmm. and started the company as an architect and interior designer, mm-hmm. offering those services. And 8 years ago, I decided to shift and make the focus furniture. Mm-hmm, so furniture. All things furniture, yes.
So like an example would be these bar stools right here. Right?
So yes, the bar stools is that we refinished them, we reworked them. The bar itself, we did the wood refinishing and the woodwork. Mm-hmm. And then at this hotel, at the Kimpton, we have done the headboards in the suites, in the guest suites. Yeah. And we are on site, always maintaining and making sure that their furniture is always in great shape.
Right. So when things start to, wear down a little bit, cushions need to be remodified, you come in and you maintain everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then some hotels like this one at the Mondrian, a few of our hotels here in West Hollywood, we typically have a small team mm-hmm. downstairs in some kind of basement.
I saw.
Parking.
I love that, though.
And the idea is to really make it convenient for them, to mm-hmm. be on site and to constantly be helping them with the maintenance of their furniture. Right. You'd be amazed at how much abuse furniture takes, and we love that. We definitely love that. So that's what we do also, in addition to the design and the initial concepts, so.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah, I saw the little setup that you had when we were parking, and you showed me how you have all your books there. And I mean, I think that's so convenient. And does that also build a relationship with the staff as well? I mean, you know pretty much everyone here now.
I consider us definitely the part of the staff. Mm-hmm. And to me, they are equally our clients and mm-hmm. our bosses because they rule. They know, they have their finger on the pulse of the hotel. Mm-hmm. And we typically, one of the things that I do love about our job is it's a multifaceted client. We've got mm-hmm. to comply with, of course, ownership. We've got to comply with the company that manages the hotel, the hospitality company. Mm-hmm. We've got to comply with the general manager. We've got to make sure that the food and beverage person is very happy with our work. Mm-hmm. They definitely rule. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the sales folks. So what's interesting is we will make a beautiful piece of furniture, and I'm in my own little world about it, and I'm thrilled with it. And of course, nobody loves my work more than me, or my team's work, I should say. Mm-hmm. And then we got to make sure that the salesperson is happy with it, because they're going to be selling for events. We've got to make sure that, of course, the manager, who's always the big boss, is mm-hmm. happy with it. And then clearly the engineering team and the housekeeping team. Wow. And then the folks that we work with day to day with, so I love to think that I'm a team player, and I love to think that we consider everyone in the hotel our client.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. I mean, so when you have these meetings, is that just one big group meeting, or is that go first to the owner, then like each department of the staff?
To be honest with you, because in hotels we've got folks coming in and out. Mm-hmm. No, that would be lovely.
It would be lovely to get everyone in one room.
No, that never happens. Okay. We typically have to make sure that we're very agile in our listening. Mm-hmm. Look, I would say 50% of our success comes from listening to our clients. And listening to the different facets of our clients mm-hmm. and the different priorities that each person has mm-hmm. at our hotels.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love it.
It sounds like your day has a lot going on. Like,
It's well my day, and then of course the day of the folks at the shop that are
Oh my gosh, yeah.
that are producing the work. I feel like I kind of have the easiest job in a way.
why?
Well, my job is definitely the people person job.
Right.
I am first and foremost the salesman. Then you could say I'm the visionary. I want to make sure that we have a design direction in place.
Right.
And then I'm the one that maintains the communication a lot of times with the clients. But then I hand over the job to Chris. He's our director of operations. And to me, that's a tougher job because he has to meet the deadlines. He's got to comply. He's got to really motivate and make sure that he's using the talent from our team. And he's gotten amazing at that. Really understanding the strength and the weaknesses in the team and making sure that that's all applied accordingly to each of the projects that we do. And at the end of the day, we typically, I would say 99.9% of the time, we deliver a great product. It's on time.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of great challenges that are great opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot goes on.
Right.
A lot goes on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I used to work it's so different, but in events. So one thing that we always said is nothing will ever go exactly as you planned. There will always be something that happens last minute that just throws you off and you have to adapt. Would you say that that also applies to you in this industry?
Natasha, I'm going to tell you this. Yes, that applies to us.
Your smile said it all.
You definitely hit a little trigger. Okay, look, I'm going to tell you this. I've been doing this for over 30 years. Yes, I know I'm aging myself, but I'm very grateful for the experience that I've had. What you are concerned about, the little issue in the piece of furniture that I'm concerned about, is more often than not the one that's least going to be a concern to the client.
Okay.
And more often than not, something will come in from left field that you did not expect, and you're like, whoa. How? I mean, I did not expect this client to have that pet peeve about that kind of a thing. So I do like that a lot because I feel that our job is, in some ways, it's a way to study life. We deal with multiple personality types. We want to make sure that everybody's happy. And we also have to step in with our professional advice, and it's an interesting one. By the way, I forgot to name another portion of our clients, another aspect of our clients, and that's typically the designer.
Right, the designer. Yeah. Do you, so circling back to what you just said, though, do you recall a time, maybe a really, really pivotal moment where that really tested you, something that came out of left field and you really had to adapt? I mean, do you remember a time where that happened?
Do you want to hear about that in the design process or in the actual manufacturing process?
Anything that really stands out, a good story where you remember.
Gosh, you're really digging now, huh? I'm like, okay, how do I answer that and still remain diplomatic? You know what? We've had malfunctions of product. We've had wood that warped when it was guaranteed that it wasn't going to warp. We've definitely had issues with some outdoor furniture. I'm not going to lie to you. We definitely had some issues where we've had some behavioral problems on the client's end where something got damaged and we would never expected that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
That I think, look, I think the thing to say at this point is we are a part of this wonderful organic world, this great big ball of energy, as I call it, life in the world that we live in. And the furniture, one of the things I love about my job is we consider furniture to be as important as the food, as the beverage, as the music. It's part of the experience.
Right.
It could make or break your experience. Likewise, furniture can be made or broken by the experiencers.
That's a really good...
We'll call them,
The experiencers, yes. But I like that. I like that point you just made right now. That makes so much sense.
It's very powerful. I definitely feel that. I know that furniture has a gender aspect to it. It has a message to it. It definitely, when you really look at it all together, it creates an experience. We've done restaurants where they did not do any work, but hire us to just change the chair color. And it was unbelievable. We did a Chinese restaurant in Beverly Hills, and we literally only changed the color of the chair seats and backs to a red leather, and the whole place just came alive.
Oh, that's amazing.
And the client at that time said to us, "We don't have any budget at the moment except to just redo the chairs." And we did these beautiful red leather chairs. Of course, I thought they were beautiful, and it was amazing. It totally changed the experience of the place.
Yeah.
So I personally, I know this is the geeky side of me, but I get all excited about furniture and the experience that it creates. I think it's very powerful, and I'd like to think that we are very good at knowing how to choreograph that, how to handle that, how to manage that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then, well, along with that also come the pragmatic aspects of it. And there's times when we will be complying with housekeeping, and we'll be making sure that we've got to communicate to the designer that maybe that fabric wasn't the appropriate fabric for maintenance. So we have a lot of we have a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
There's times where we are also communicating between our different client members to ensure that housekeeping is happy, that engineering is happy, and then of course designer as well as sales.
There's so many layers. Everyone plays a part in this.
Yeah, and I think what's best about that is to establish the communication right up front and to make sure that we have tangible materials that everybody can see, the sketches, the finishes, the samples of the finishes. And what I love, this is where we have that situation where we may not have foreseen this, but we may have the salesperson coming in and saying, "There's no way I could sell this space. How am I going to sell this to an event person? Or this is looking too feminine. How am I going to sell this to a corporate client? Sure, this is great for a ladies' lunch, but or vice versa.
Right.
This is looking way too cigar room. We need to really make sure that we can also sell this to a baby shower event. So,
wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's that's the part that I do love about this, and it really is the power of furniture.
Power of furniture, but you get to know people so well through this.
That, and then I'm going to tell you one thing. The key word here is modularity. Keep everything modular.
Good tip? Is that a tip?
That actually works. Yeah, that's definitely a tip. I'm giving everyone. Keep everything modular because our clients are always rearranging.
Yeah.
For the different needs of the different events and the different, or the different needs for different seasons, different times of the year.
I know. And I mean, you're based here in Los Angeles and you do a lot of work here, but you also have, and you've done nightclubs, restaurants, residential as well, but you've done things in Miami, in Washington, and Hawaii, I believe, too, which the climates are so different. And you have to adapt to that as well. Okay,
now I'm going to tell you this anecdote. We did the tables for Nobu in Malibu, and they're nice 2-inch thick teak wood, and they're still there intact. They look great. And then Nobu asked us to do their tables in Washington, D.C. for their summer garden area. We made them in April. They shipped. We got them in May. And the same exact table that we have in Malibu sitting there for about 8 years now, within 3 weeks, they went, because of the humidity.
Yeah.
And that's definitely an example of one of those where you go, holy crap, we didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah, you have to.
And so we had to shift those.
Okay.
And as we expand, we have an amazing vision for this company and this team to expand and to really go international. As we expand, we're going to really need to take all that into consideration, the climate, the crowds. What works in Miami doesn't work in LA and vice versa.
Yeah. People from Miami are different than people from LA. People from New York are different from, everyone has their own different personalities depending on the city, I think.
We did a lobby in Miami where the client said to me, "Ray, you keep showing us velvets and mohairs, and this is Miami." and I thought, wow, we gotta shift more to like linens and more of the tropical type of fabrics. Same brand as a residential tower that we've done here in LA.
So the manufacturers, do you use the same, or do you also use different manufacturers depending on all of that, those factors like people, climate, and styles?
A lot of times it's a combination. In Miami, we use a lot of the local folks.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
And then here, we of course have a great arsenal of folks that we work with, and by now they know us really well. They know the learning curve really well. They know the personalities. So that one is always per project. Right now, a client type that we didn't talk about is right now we're doing an art museum.
Wow.
In the city of Montebello, and that client wants a lot of the furniture to be furniture as art.
Right.
And we're collaborating with a few folks from Mexico that make beautiful art as furniture pieces, and it's becoming a great collaboration.
Oh, that's amazing. Now that goes close to my heart.
Well, you know what
Mexicana.
the thing to say, Natasha, there's no two projects that are alike. There's no two clients that are alike. And there's also, likewise, we can never repeat the same product ever.
That's really true.
Unless it's like we did work for Springboard Hospitality last year. They wanted these beautiful, very daring communal beds at the pool. We did, for the 3 hotels, we did something similar. But that, of course, was the same client.
That makes sense, though. But I agree that, I mean, I'm not from your industry, but yeah, I would agree that you don't want to see the same thing. You always want to step it up as well, too. You want to show your creativity and all you can do, you and your team, of course. So I have a fun question. What is it like to work with Rey III? If I were to ask the people you work with, or Chris, what do you think they would say? What it's like working with you?
Okay, well, look, working with me, I will tell you that, gosh, that's a really tough question. Look, I'm going to tell you the good things about me. I think I try to be personable. I think I'm really easy to approach. And I really want the well-being of our team and our folks. And I think tend to be too much of a one that wants everybody to be happy, which is impossible.
Yeah.
But I definitely tend to be more the emotion, the feelings, the vision kind of guy. And then with Chris can be more hard edge, which he needs to be. And one thing that I never liked when I was younger was to have a leader stepping in. So with Chris, I literally said to him, the shop is your shop. That is your realm. That is for you to manage. You're the boss of the shop, and I listen. I'm able to.
Beautiful.
Yeah, he is definitely a great business partner, and he has really taken on the responsibility of managing the team and managing the folks. A lot of times we've had, not a lot of times, but sometimes we've had some employees that want to go around him and come to me and kind of tug at my heart.
That happens a lot, yeah.
And he will recognize it. He'll be like, oh, yeah, Ray, they went to you because they know they could tug at your heart a little bit. Nope, that's not happening.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And I appreciate that about him because he's definitely more of a very facts and figures, nuts and bolts, get it done. We got a deadline to meet kind of a person, and we need that.
That's amazing, though, because you guys make a perfect team because he balances you out. He's a certain way that you need, but you're also a certain way that he will need too. And that makes, how long have you been partners?
For 3 years.
3 years?
Look, in some ways, the business would not, without the two dichotomy of thinking, the business would not be the success that it is. There's no way I could do what Chris does.
Yeah.
And I think that, maybe I'm more personable in the sales and all that, and maybe Chris wouldn't be so good at that either.
But I think that's a great tip for anyone who's listening when it comes to business partners is you should find that balance. I mean, business partners, you're married basically, so you have to make it work. You don't have to, but it's so much better when you can make it work. And
well, if you use the word married, I'm going to freak out. I'm going to break out into hives.
We're touching another subject there.
It's a business partnership.
It's a business partnership. Well, for example,
not a family. We're not a family. No.
The reason I say that is because I have a business partner too, and I call her that's my work wife there. So that's why I'm like, that's my work wife. At the office, at the company, she balances me out too, and it's so great. But we don't
Well,
have to use the word marriage.
I'm joking, but look, I think the one thing I do want to say is I drive Chris up the wall with my La La Land side, because definitely the dreamer in me, the visionary in me, sometimes tends to oversee the practicality of life or the practical things, and I do tend to be a little bit La La Land, which I'm actually, as I get older, I'm trying to really work on. But it is kind of funny. I know when I'm driving him up the wall.
You're like, okay, yeah, I'll calm down.
Facts and figures, I'm not so good with.
That's
Getting better.
Okay. That's good though. But I think it's so great that you both can highlight where your strong points are, but also you can acknowledge where your weak points are. I think that's the best thing about partnerships, is if you can admit those things, and when you can admit you're wrong too. I mean, I think that's such a big factor in business in general. You got to be able to admit when you've either made a mistake or when you're probably wrong, and you got to listen to that person and also trust them and what they're trying to tell you or what their business move is too. So I think that's really beautiful. I would love to meet Chris.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
you will at some point. Absolutely. We would not have the success we have without him.
That's really good. So
For sure.
I love how I asked, what do you think Chris would say about you? And so you think he would just say like the same thing, that you guys balance each other out?
Oh, I know that Chris would say, yeah, that's a Ray cartoon trying, dreaming, and yeah, we got to now make this real. Yeah, for sure.
Let's make this real.
Or a lot of times me understanding the complexity of something and really the amount of time it's going to take. And by the way, we also get this from our clients. Well, wait a minute. I thought that would only take 2 weeks. That would only take 3 weeks. Well, no, it takes more than that. There's a complexity to things. The woodwork, the upholstery, the sewing. There's a lot to every piece.
Yeah, that sounds like
A lot of
not
coordination, a
job.
lot of choreography between people.
Yeah.
And definitely that's not my focus. No.
God.
You don't want it to be.
No, you don't want it to be.
You wanted me
Go
to
Chris.
be doing sales?
Yeah.
Chris does have a funny line where he says, Ray, I'm not going to go there and pretend I'm best friends with everyone. That's your job.
I mean, that's what happened. But it's so great, too, because you and we met at the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce Mixer. And it was just, I saw you and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And it was just instant. It was love at first sight. Absolutely. We're in love. And
no worries about commitment there.
no worries. Don't talk about marriage. And it was just really natural. And I remember asking you, would you mind doing something outside, recording with me for, 60 seconds? And you were so kind, and we did it, and it was great. And I love that we were able to make this happen.
For sure.
Yes, you are very just, your energy is so great, and you are very approachable. And I understand why, too. You have to be. But, I definitely want to backtrack a little bit. Let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
Why do you, you mentioned to me that you started in sales, right? At 16, 17, right?
No,
Your first job.
my first job, my first job was in sales, selling cowboy boots in Miami, circa the 80s, Robert's Western Wear. And that was just a job that I needed for the summer. My mom was like, yeah, you guys need to get a job. No summer school, no summer camp this year. Okay, you got to do something. So that was the job that I got, at Robert's Western Wear, which was kind of like, an odd bird store in South Miami, beautiful South Miami. And I was a kid. I was 16 years old. And in all honesty, that job taught me that I was good at selling.
Yeah.
They hired me because I spoke Spanish. I'm from Nicaragua. I spoke Spanish. I spoke a little bit of French.
Yeah.
Back then, there was no internet. They had the Europeans coming in looking for the Levi's 501 jeans. And I was a charming kid that would sell a lot of jeans. And then with the cowboy boots, that was an interesting experience for me. I remember the most expensive cowboy boot I sold was a $1,500 pair of crocodile that was legal back then.
Right.
Crocodile boots. And my bosses were thrilled with me as a salesperson.
Yeah.
And back then, I would make sure that I would take the boots and I would kind of entertain the customer while my bosses were checking on if the $100 bills were real. I don't know if
if the
that
$100 bills were real.
they paid in $100 bills in cash.
Oh, well, yeah, 80s. You were paying cash
It was the
those
80s
days.
in
Yeah,
Miami.
80s in Miami.
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
You have stories.
You guys let your minds go wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would do a lot of cash sales.
Wow.
And I was to bring the cash to my bosses, and they would check it with a marker. And I would kind of entertain the customers while they were packing their boots for them.
Oh, my gosh.
And I would, maybe give them a couple of bandanas or show them the latest
Right.
Levi's jeans or,
Yeah.
Somehow I think that's where I learned that I was pretty good with people.
Yeah.
And I come from an extremely social family. Both my parents are extremely social folks. So as a kid, I grew up,
Right.
socializing a lot.
You did not grow up in an introverted household.
Not at
everyone
all.
everyone in your family is pretty much.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah?
I would say, yeah, definitely my mother's an extremely, probably my mother of all of the four of us, my sister, my dad, and my mom. My mom's definitely probably the most social one, and I'm a lot like her. I think my dad and my sister may be a little bit more reserved. But it still is. My parents are now in their 80s, and I was there in Miami with them in December, and I was like, oh my God, do we have to have another party? They're still,
tired.
they're very, very social folks.
Wow. So they still have a lot of energy and life in
Energy.
them.
Yes,
That's amazing.
absolutely.
So, okay. That's
Very
so good.
rambunctious.
But they're still in Miami. So
Oh, yeah, they're
what do
in
you miss?
Miami.
I mean, aside from them, I'm sure, what do you miss from Miami?
Well, you know what I think is funny is when I go to Miami, I'm always amazed at how easy life is. And they complain about the traffic. I'm like, really? The traffic's not that bad here. They don't complain about the weather, which I find that sometimes it's overwhelming. But definitely in Miami, so much water, so much resort-like qualities. Everybody seems to have some kind of boat or little
Someone always has
water
a boat in
something.
Miami.
Yeah, so it's definitely a much more leisurely lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm very attracted to that. The plan is to eventually branch out into Miami and have a branch there,
Okay.
and have me manage that and kind of set up a secondary team there.
Oh, wow.
So the plan is, we may have Chris go back and forth and oversee both teams,
Oh,
which
wow.
we would need to.
Yeah.
But there's so much in Miami. There's so many hotels or
Are you
hospitality.
kidding
It's
me?
Miami.
Yeah, of course. I just think of obviously the most iconic strip of Miami down there. That's amazing. Yeah, that would
so
be
much
good.
growth.
Yeah.
It's a city that's growing like crazy.
Yeah. So that's the plan. That's one of the plans for the future.
That's one of the plans, to definitely have our have our hub be LA and then grow into Miami.
Okay.
And then of course from then I want to look into the Europe and New York areas.
Ooh. Yeah, New York. I mean, I'm a sucker for New York, but that's just me.
Look, one thing I want to share with you is a few years ago we did furniture for yachts, and I did a lot of work with European shipyards. Some of them stayed in the concept phase. Some of them did go into getting built. But definitely it's always an attractive area that kind of tugs at me. And now that we have more capacity, more capability,
Yeah.
that the company has grown, that I've grown up a little bit, I'm definitely ready to say we may want to look into that. We may look into doing super yachts and yachts at some point.
Ooh,
Miami
I like
is
that.
in the United States the biggest yacht market.
Yeah.
So we would be in the right place.
Oh, you would be in the perfect place. Are you kidding me? And you'd get to see your family more and, enjoy that as well. So you said you're from Nicaragua and your
Yes.
family is all there. Not anymore, but you guys immigrated from Nicaragua to Miami first?
Yes, thanks to my parents, we moved to Miami when I was a teenager, and that's where I went to high school in Miami. And then after that, I went to art school in Chicago at the School of the Art Institute. And what brought me to LA was grad school for architecture.
Oh, okay. So you
Yeah.
always knew what you wanted to do then by the time you were here, or did this all start from?
Oh, I was
What
definitely
age?
the geek kid, drawing and sketching all day long in his own little world.
Yeah?
Definitely not a social kid, a very shy kid. I think it's great that my parents were very supportive of that. My sister my sister and I were not close when we were little, but we definitely are super close now. I cannot imagine life without her. And we're so different. You know, she's definitely more of a logical thinker. She's more of a facts and figures person. She used to help me with my math homework. She used to help me balance my checkbook.
Yeah.
Very different kids.
Yeah.
And yet I was very encouraged to do my art and to do painting, sculpture.
Oh, that's great.
Went
So they
to-
encouraged you to go for it.
Very encouraging.
Oh,
I
that's
went
so
to
beautiful.
one of these high school art high school programs. So yeah, I was definitely very encouraged by my family to do the things that I did to really continue with that. And I was definitely I don't think I was an easy kid to deal with. I was not really very introverted.
Okay. And so when do you think you went from introverted to
When I went to art school in Chicago.
in Chicago?
Oh, that's where I
Okay.
learned that it was okay to be artistic and
Oh, okay.
to
You were around everyone
yeah,
around
exactly.
you
It was very
that.
welcomed, and that's
that's
where I
beautiful.
really I started to like to socialize.
So how many years were you in Chicago for?
6 years,
6 years.
from 18 to 19 to 25.
Wow. And so from Chicago, you said, I'm going to LA.
What happened was I was in Chicago. I studied art, and then I studied interior architecture, and I got a job at a wonderful architecture firm in Chicago, international firm called Perkins and Well, and I was one of their. I got an internship there, and then I became an interior designer there. I graduated, and I started working there full time, and I wanted to go to grad school in architecture, and that's when I started. I was looking at Columbia, and I was looking at. Columbia and a couple of other programs in New York, and my boss one day said, "Ray, we're going to go to Chicago. We have a project. We're going to stay at the Westwood Marquis, which is now the W in Westwood." And I came to LA, and I remember I was like a 22-year-old kid looking for grad schools. And my boss and the team that I was with, we get out of LAX and we get into the 405 on a taxi cab. There was no Uber back then. I'm talking like 1990, 91. And I remember at the taxi on the 405 stuck on the freeway, we just landed. I said to her, "You know what? I'm going to look at UCLA. I think I'm
okay.
going to like LA a lot."
Yeah.
And she said, "Ray, you haven't seen anything." I said, "Yeah, but I love this energy
You knew.
of the freeway.
You had a feeling of the freeway.
I love the 405 stuck in traffic." And a year later, I was at UCLA for architecture.
Wow. So you just
Fearless kid.
fearless. That
Yeah.
is so admirable. You just knew.
Thank
and
you.
so since then,
I
did you
stayed
ever
in LA.
move? You
No,
okay?
I
So
stayed in
you
LA.
that's and
Yeah,
you
I-
would say this is your base. This is your home now.
Yeah, well, I came to grad school at UCLA, which I loved. It definitely became a foundation for me in LA.
Yeah.
I am friends with my friends from grad school still. They're like
Oh.
a family to me.
Yeah.
I was in my mid-20s. I just imagined that world. There was no. I remember when they came up with email. When email was discovered, and they assigned us an email at UCLA, and we never used it.
You're like, what is this?
Yeah. And then I got a job here at Gensler right out of grad school. And it was because my boss moved from Chicago to Gensler. Gensler is the largest
Oh, yeah.
architecture firm in the world. And Gensler was definitely my foundation, my company foundation, if you will. I learned so much there. It literally was, I should say, nowadays there's probably nothing in my company that isn't influenced by Gensler.
Oh wow.
Yeah, to give
Okay.
credit where due, they really trained me very well.
Yay. Well,
So, yeah, so it really was an amazing, amazing start.
okay. So you came to LA, you said, "This is it. I'm staying here." And you worked obviously. When was it where you said, "I'm going to go into business for myself"? Talk to me about that transition in that moment where you said, "Hey, light bulb. I'm going to
Yeah.
go and go on my own."
You know what? I always knew I wanted my own company. And my father is also an architect and engineer, and he had his own company. And I really feel that in some ways I grew up watching and really learning from him for sure. My mother had her own business in fashion, and she did her own fashion. So I always grew up watching them, and I really liked that. I went into grad school with the thought that I would get my architecture degree, which I didn't have when I finished in Chicago. And while in grad school, I said to my teachers, my team, I said, "You guys, I'm going to go into the corporate world." I thought I'm going to go work in corporate. I know everybody would laugh at me because they say, "Ray, you're like one of the most artistic guys in the group, and you want to go into a corporate job." That's because I did love the corporate world, and I went into Gensler, and I was there for 8 years. But I knew that eventually it was all leading to me having my own company. That was always a life goal.
Okay.
And so after Gensler, I took a job as design director at a firm called Whittam Wine Cohen, which has now been bought out. But I was there for 5 years. And I literally went in and I said to myself, okay, this is your gig for the next 5 years. And let's see how good you are at managing a team and how good you are at selling. And at that company, I took the small interiors group and grew it from 8 people to 25.
Wow.
And so I learned how to sell because at Gensler you didn't sell. At Gensler they gave you the project.
Okay.
You know, more of your typical corporate firm. So I really liked being a leader at this firm, Whittam Wine Cohen, and I really learned that I was good at sales. I mean, I already kind of knew that from my Cowboys, but my Boots days. But basically, at that point, I remember the year 2008 when all hell was breaking loose with the recession and the real estate crash. I decided that was the time to go on my own. Yeah.
Really?
I love danger.
Okay, thought process here.
My dad said to me when I was a kid, he said, "Te encanta el peligro. You love danger," and I think he's right. Look, what happened is I was doing a really large project that I brought into the company, and the CEO of that company, who's still my client, said to me, "Ray, I'm getting married, and I'd like my house remodeled, and I don't want your company to do it." The company I was working for.
Okay.
He said, "This is a major remodel, architecture and interior design, and I would like you to do it." So we began the conversation seriously, and I went on my own in the year 2009, 15 years ago.
Wow.
I left my nice, stable job. I had kept my department from getting laid off. People were getting laid off it was a horrific time.
It was,
And my team wasn't touched because we had that project that I had brought in.
Yeah.
And when I left, my bosses were freaking out.
Right.
Our cash
yeah,
cow
they
is
lost
leaving.
a big asset. Yeah.
And so I continued working for them as a consultant.
Okay.
And then I went on to work for my client. And that project took 3-4 years, and it made my company. It made my interior design and architecture firm. That was a catalyst that's how I started the company.
Okay. That's when the third degree was born. Then.
No, that was the Rey III Design Collaborative. It was architecture and interior design.
Okay.
And before I did that, I went to India for about a month. Yeah.
What were you doing in India?
Just because I've always loved India, and that was my second trip to India. And I went with my aunt who wanted to go to India, so I decided to take the time. Okay, so then the Rey III Design Collaborative was architecture and interior design, and that lasted 7 years.
Okay.
And 8 years ago, when we were doing 3 houses and we were struggling, and my dad and my mom had lent me money, I don't know how many times.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I got to be a 12 professional company. It's a small company, but always struggling. And it's because the architecture field and I didn't really get along well.
Okay.
Permitting, building permits, bureaucracy of construction. It was not my passion.
Okay. Yeah.
And one day I went to a construction site, to a meeting, and I literally thought, I'm not happy.
Okay.
And on my way back to the office that afternoon, I spoke with my team and I said to them, "You guys, this company as we know it will close.
Wow.
It will become
Pivotal moment.
It will become a furniture company."
Okay.
I knew that every project, the furniture was what I worked on. And I had a couple licensed architects that made more money than me in the office, and they took care of the project permitting and all that, which was not my thing at all.
Right.
And so what was interesting about that is it was a no-brainer. I thought, if I'm not happy doing this, and this was my dream, and it's kind of a funny thing when you get your dream and you have your dream and you
Yeah.
say, wow, this was the wrong dream.
That's amazing. Yeah. But I
happened
think
to
it's so beautiful though to be able to. What you did is you're sitting there. You're like, I'm not happy, and no, I'm not gonna settle for this. Even though maybe some people go through life saying, well, it's a lot of money, or I'm comfortable, or it's just why I'm not gonna just completely disassemble everything that I've built. And I think that's a really strong message for people, especially listening.
Look, I have friends that I went to grad school with that are hugely successful in architecture, and my hat's off to them for sure. I really admire. I have a lot of respect for the architectural profession. It's not easy. They definitely, it's a really tough profession. The furniture, for me, what's easier is, number one, nowadays, we do have a lot of projects that do require permits, but we are like a subcontractor working under the direction of the contractor. And so we do the business. This was 8 years ago, and the business has now grown to serve so many hotels, to work in construction. We do cabinetry, we do bars, we do, a lot of built-ins, and all of that is tied in and intertwined with permitting and with construction, but we've gotten really good at that. And the thing I love about our jobs is we do not go to the city. I mean, that is definitely the line on the sand.
Okay.
I have not stepped foot into a building and permit department in about 8 years, thank God. And again, tons of respect to folks that work in that field. But with us, it's really about the furniture. It's really about my strength is design. My strength is creating a great experience. My team strength
as
is
well.
that.
Yeah.
So I learned that, and so was able to kind of extrapolate from there and create this. And now, luckily, I've been very blessed with the team, with the folks that I have, with the clients that we have. Definitely, I want to make sure that that's very clear how grateful I am every single day for doing this, because I do love it.
Yeah, it shows too. I mean, it shows so much that this is what you want to do and this is where you're happy. I mean, when you were just showing us around, like, you could just feel how proud you are too of you, how proud you are of your company, how proud you are of your team.
Well,
So
thank
I think
you.
that's great. And I think that pivotal moment where you said, I'm not happy, this is now what I want to do and this is what we're going to do. And you made that shift, and that's where this was really born then.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, I'm extremely grateful. In all honesty, that's definitely the word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Extremely grateful. And I'm really excited and really curious about what's yet to come. I know the best is yet to come for us, and I'm working hard to make that happen.
Yeah, it shows. I mean, you have a lot of goals too, so that's great. I mean, actually, it's a good point. Aside from you wanting to, have a base in Miami as well, and expand to more cities, is there a particular goal for the Third Degree this 2024 that you have set on, to do another specific hotel or to anything? Is there a specific goal in 2024 that you have that you and Chris wrote down?
Well, in 2024, the vision is definitely to continue working for our hotels. At the moment, we work for the Kimpton brand, the Marriott brand, Springboard. We definitely have a great repertoire. The next step for us is to truly get involved in a hotel when the hotel is being formulated, when ownership, developer, designer, architect are all starting to develop the hotel. The goal, the next step for us is to really design, produce, manufacture an entire property.
Okay, so from ground up, from scratch.
Yeah, what we've done a lot of, and I'm being transparent with you, is we've done a lot of be brought in and really maybe do the bar or maybe do the pool area or maybe do the restaurant and the pool, or here at Lapeer, we did the guest rooms, and now we're redoing the bar. So a lot of times it's been what I call second and third generation work, where it was already there and we've either replaced it or we've supplemented or we have fixed it and stayed there. Eventually, the goal is, let's just not say maybe not 2024, but by 2028, would love to do a whole resort.
Oh, that would
The main hotel
Yeah,
building, the
yeah.
casitas, the spa, the pool, the whole mini cities, like a montage in Baja. There's a residential aspect to these properties. Eventually, we're working right now very hard on developing our capacity and our capabilities to be able to really do a whole resort.
Now that's cool. So you're maybe not 2024 in particular, but that is the goal within the next 5 years. 5
Yeah.
years. Okay.
Before I turn 60.
So let's schedule your follow-up interview in 5 years.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
with that goal.
I'll be like this.
No, you
So-
won't. You won't.
Well,
you look great.
thank
Remember I
you.
said you look really good. From October to now, I'm like, you look amazing.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. We made a lot of changes in the health and diet, but really, eventually, and for that to happen, it's really about me starting to become more involved with developers and really become more involved in the conversations about what projects are coming down the pipes. And what's interesting about that also is to become a part of the repertoire of vendors for our hotel brands. We're working on getting our purchasing agent license, maybe also getting our license in becoming a subcontractor. Definitely, I've been studying now for a while a lot of the hospitality vendors and the companies, and really, it's a whole.
Yeah.
It's a whole society, it's a whole community
Yeah.
to really start to become involved and get your finger on the pulse of the developing properties coming up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And kind of, piggybacking off of what you just said, community. I think that's such a big aspect in small business owners, in business owners in general. I mean, we met through, a Chamber of Commerce event where all business owners are supporting each other, and we're all trying to figure out, well, how can I help you? Like, who can I refer you to, and how do we help each other, get our name out there? And I mean, this is precisely why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I love what you do. I obviously researched
Thank
you,
you.
stalked you a little bit, and I wanted to know about your company, and I wanted to know about you. And I think community is so beautiful, and especially in LA too. I feel like you've found such a strong community in LA.
Well, we need to give credit where due. The West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has been pivotal in our success. And I really want to
Absolutely.
make sure that I give a shout out to them, because I joined them 2 years ago. And I was very fortunate to be brought into the board by Nick Remedio. He's now the manager at the W Hollywood Hotel, and he's been a catalyst for the success of our company. And the WeHo Chamber, when I started there, my target was, of course, the hospitality group. And 2 years later, when I give you, and I love to name drop the list of clients that we've had,
Yeah.
it has been because of the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, West Hollywood.
Their membership, their members is a very high hospitality member group.
Yes.
And they were instrumental in connecting me with them. And from then, of course, I took the opportunity, and we really developed our great rapport with those are now clients.
Yeah.
And Natasha, if you had said to me when I joined the WeHo Chamber, you will have these clients in so much time, I would have thought that you were crazy. And now
look.
looking back, the gratitude that I have for the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce is huge. And I am to be of service to them in really promoting the chamber and
Yeah.
getting us more members, and really making sure that we are also paying it forward for them.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why we're doing what we're doing, and I think it's so beautiful. And the Chamber of Commerce, I think, has been such a staple in small business owners that I always, I mean, when people ask me, what should I do? I just got into business. I just, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get just at least one client, I'm like, well, you got to go to your community. And I think the support of small business owners to one another is so amazing. And I don't think people expect it too much. I mean, I think people have this perception of like, well, they're a business owner. They're just trying to focus on themselves and they want to, just focus on getting their business. And I'm like, no, it's so important to know that me as a business owner wants to help you as a business owner, and we want to help each other, and we want to help the new guy too. Someone who just joined, it doesn't know what they're doing like 2 years ago, who says, you're crazy if I'm going to get more clients. I'm like, no, believe it. It's going to happen, and we're going to help you to make it happen.
Well, look, you hit on a point that is definitely one of my biggest passions, and that is to be of service.
Yeah.
I really, and sometimes I am that to a fault. Like I really want everybody to be okay, and I don't want people to suffer, which is also not healthy. But on the other hand, definitely with the WeHo Chamber, I said to them, look, feel free to give my info to anybody. We had a promotion last summer, which was Code 3, which was basically for folks would get a half hour to an hour phone conversation with me in sharing my experience of success with the chamber, and also how to guide them, whatever their business was, in navigating through, and how to really promote their business, and how to really make sure that they receive the benefit of the community. Oh, okay. So I do. For me, to be of service is essential, and I really. Will tell you that goes across the board with our clients, with our own team, with our own workers, with our independent consultants. I just really feel that one has to step out of one's little comfort area, absolutely. Not only for developing your business, but also to be of service.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think that something that people can take away a lot out of this interview, but I think a really, really important point is that if you give, the world's going to give back to you too. It's going to come in other forms. So just be patient, but be of service. Help someone who maybe doesn't know how to ask for help, or who is asking for help, and you just take the time to even just listen, which is something that is so big in your profession, in your industry. Just listen to what the customer is trying to tell you, listen to what their needs are, listen to why they don't think that vase is going to sell to a particular demographic, right? So I think it's so important to know that and to be of service.
Look, it's essential. It's essential, and we have a lot of things in place, a lot of steps in place for that to happen. We typically will do a sketch. We will show the finishes. We will make sure that there's no surprises to anyone. But I think that definitely for me, another point that you really touched upon is what's interesting is our work serves the client, and it also serves their guests. Mm-hmm. And sometimes our work helps our clients in making sure that the Yelp review that was left is also, alleviated, or, with Yelp is a tricky one,
It is tricky.
And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, let's not.
but I find really interesting that our job is to be of service in so many areas. And we like that. We like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely I would say that is super important. I mean, we're all one big ball of energy. We belong to that, and it's really important that we all are helping each other out. That's the mindfulness in me, and that's all the work I've been doing in meditation and being present.
Well, that's being present, I think, is a big, highlight that. Being present. Because someone can tell when you're not being present. Someone can tell when maybe you're not actively listening too. And I think that's a really important part as a business owner is be present, listen to your staff, listen to your partner, listen to your customer. So I'm very big on that. I'm constantly working on that too, on actively listening and zoning in. And for example, to not even grab my phone or to try to put my phone somewhere else when I'm trying. Hey, I have it right now because of notes. But, I think that's such an important quality to have as a business owner, as a leader, is to actively listen. So.
I have not picked up my phone for about the past, since we started the conversation.
And are you okay?
How I have not broken into hives. Do not ask me how I managed. It's because you are so great to speak with.
Oh.
It's so much fun to watch as well.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure.
Thank
yes.
you.
That's why.
I would love for you to give, if someone was coming into your industry, what's one piece of advice that you would say to them? You know, someone coming out of college even, who is the same as you, has a dream, has a vision, and wants to get into this. Well, what's a great piece of advice or even life advice that you would say to somebody?
You'd be true to yourself.
Okay.
Be true to yourself. I guess I'm speaking from when I was 26, 27, 28 years old, and I must say, back then, the world was very different. There was not as much knowledge as we have today. There was not as much information. There was not as much communication. And in some ways, as a young guy starting out back then, I thought I had to be perfect. And that got me into so much trouble because no one is. So really, nowadays, I'm able to say, you know what, I screwed up. I'm sorry, we didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. And so I would tell a young person starting out today, and I honestly don't think they have a lot of problem with this, just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And really, you cannot please everybody. You have a niche. You do have a niche, whether you want to admit it or not. Mm-hmm. Be true to it. Be true to what your passion is. And really be true to yourself, because that's how you will give your best. And if you're uncomfortable with that, become comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. Like yourself.
Yeah, like yourself.
Yes, like
we're just going
yourself.
into a therapy now. Like,
yeah, trust me, that's
like
been
yourself.
a lifelong process for me. Okay, I'm being honest with
You're
you.
telling me. I still have this. I have this thing in my bathroom when I walk in, and it just says, like yourself and love yourself, because it's constant work, constant
Work,
especially because you're always changing. Every day you're different. Every day you're a little older. Every day you can be a little wiser. But that is always such a big one, is to like yourself, to love yourself, because that's how you give your best to the other people around you. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. This was a great interview. I definitely want to do it again, though.
Thank you for your time. We'll do a follow-up.
We need to do a follow-up. I would love to do a yearly follow-up. That would be cool.
Oh, we would definitely love that for sure. And we'll definitely be sharing more with you. And little by little, we'll get to until we do the one at the big resort. Maybe in Europe somewhere. Who knows?
I'll go to
Maybe
Europe.
in India.
Maybe in India. I'll go. I'll get my plane ticket. And we'll take everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everyone's invited. The whole crew. Okay, super.
Thank you so much. Well, that was another episode of Light Bulbs with Natasha with Rey III from the Third Degree. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to listen to all your podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we cannot wait to share more.
Super.